Hello and welcome to Wedding Wednesdays with Weddings Online. My name is Kelly and I'm a former wedding planner and blogger, and I'm obsessed with weddings. If you're planning a wedding in Ireland, you're in the right place. You're going to learn the tried and tested methods to planning your dream wedding without the added stress. Think of this as your one-stop shop for everything to do with planning your wedding in Ireland. With me, your new wedding planning bestie, and a cup of tea. This is Wedding Wednesdays with Weddings Online. Well, happy Wednesday. It is time for a brand new episode of Wedding Wednesdays with Weddings Online. Today's episode is a very fun one because we're talking all about wedding dress shopping. I'm going to walk you through some really practical things to think about when choosing your wedding dress. And I have an expert who's going to join me for a little bit later in the episode to walk us through a very important timeline of exactly when to start wedding dress shopping. But let's get started. The very first thing that you want to do is you want to know your style. Now, I say this all the time when it comes to choosing different suppliers and different things for your wedding. I often come back to this and say, knowing your style is really helpful. And sometimes I give an example of a ball gown and a beach wedding. And I'm going to explain why. So, before you even set foot in a wedding dress boutique, you want to know your style because it's going to help you to focus on the types of dresses that you can try on, and it's going to help you not to be overwhelmed. So here are a few questions that you can ask as you prepare yourself. Question 1, what style is my wedding and do I want my dress to match? So now imagine you go wedding dress shopping and you choose an amazing ball gown style dress, and it's almost like a fairy tale princess dress. It's like, just picturing it makes me excited because I just think of it as just so pretty and magical and fairy tale like. And then you end up getting married in the middle of summer. You've chosen an outdoor wedding venue. Maybe the ceremony is on the beach. Again, really lovely. I can just imagine a beach ceremony in Ireland with, the blue skies in the middle of summer. There's so much to love, except those two pictures don't match up. I couldn't imagine anything more uncomfortable than wearing a ball gown on a beach in the heat of summer. And so the reason that you need to ask this question is you want to consider the style of the wedding and if you want your dress to match. So are you going for elegant, sophisticated? Are you going for boho and relaxed? Those types of things will help you to form a picture of what your wedding will be like, and that will then help you to form a picture of what your wedding dress will be like as well. So you don't have to be like matchy. Like, if you're planning a nautical wedding, you don't have to have like stripes on your dress or like, bits of fishnet stitched onto your dress. I'm definitely not suggesting that unless that's a particularly fun thing you want to do. Like, go for it. It's just more the overall style and the overall tone of your wedding should match your style of your dress. The next question you can ask is, how formal will the wedding be? Again, you don't have to be like perfectly in line, but if you're going for a more casual wedding, then you can be more casual with your dress. And if you're going for a more formal wedding, then of course you can be more formal with your dress. So it just gives you a bit of an indication of what you're going for. Question number 3, what season am I getting married in? And now this will help you to determine the cut of the dress, the fabrics you can choose, and really how comfortable you can make yourself. So if you're going for a really festive, fun, wintry, cozy wedding, then you can go for like long sleeves, you can go for the thicker fabrics, you can have a faux fur cover up, you can have a knit cover up. There's so many like fun, warm things you can do. And on the other side of the scale is if you're going for a wedding in the middle of summer, you may want to consider having a shorter wedding dress or at least a different type of fabric so that you're going to be wearing something breathable so you're not super warm. So the season you get married in, very helpful to know. And then the final question when it comes to your style is there a part of my body that I want to accentuate? For example, if you know that you've got a really banging back, you could have a low-cut dress where it just highlights your back and how amazing your back looks. Maybe you have a lovely tiny waist and you want to accentuate your waist, or you have amazing collarbones and you want to wear a strapless dress. Just having an idea of the parts of your body that you want to celebrate and highlight, the things you love about yourself, it just helps you to know what kind of style you're going for because you know that you're going to feel your best. And in this episode, I'm not going to talk a single bit about hiding any flaws because I don't believe in flaws. I believe that you want to look and feel your absolute best by highlighting the things you love. And so think about that when you are choosing your style for your wedding dress. The next thing that you want to know is very similar to style, and that is to know your silhouette. And again, it's not so you can hide anything, but it's so that you can accentuate the parts of your body that you love, and you can pick a shape that really helps you to shine and to feel very confident and the most beautiful version of yourself possible. So there are lots of different options when it comes to the silhouette of a dress or the shape of a dress. And I'm going to give you 4 examples, and you can chat with a bridal boutique for more examples. You could even go to them and say, I don't really know much about silhouettes for wedding dresses, but I know that I want to accentuate this part of my body. I've heard about this type of dress. Is there something similar? And they'll give you all the information that you could possibly need. But as a starter, here are 4 wedding dress shapes that you can think about. One is called A-line, and that is one of the most flattering and most popular silhouette types. It works on almost all body types, which is great. It's got a feminine style. Basically what happens is the dress gathers at the waist and then flares out gently into a beautiful full skirt. So if you are a curvy bride, if you would consider yourself pear-shaped, this is something that will help you to feel confident and comfortable. I love to wear A-line shaped things because I just feel like they accentuate the waist, and I like that. Another wedding dress shape is a ball gown shape. Now imagine the fairy tale princess gown, something that gives drama, volume, a classic appeal. There's a fitted bodice, an accentuated waistline, and a full skirt. If you're into the magic of a fairy tale and you want the ball gown aesthetic, that's a great one to go for. Another option is called fit and flare. So basically, the gown is fitted throughout the body right up until about the mid-thigh, and then you have a dramatic flare. And it accentuates a lovely full figure. You can have a delicate waistline. It's just really beautiful with an hourglass shape or a petite bride. The final fit that we're going to talk about is a similar one to fit and flare. It's called a mermaid, and that's also with, the style is where it clings to your body, but unlike the fit and flare, which gets to the mid-thigh, the mermaid cut goes to the knee and then flares out. Kind of like how you would imagine a mermaid to look. So those are 4 options, and as I mentioned before, there are other options too. So have a chat with your wedding boutique and just see what they have on offer, see what they have, what they can recommend. But it's quite helpful to have a bit of an understanding ahead of time of the types of silhouettes that you feel comfortable in. So if you've ever had to wear a pretty dress for anything before, you may have a bit of an idea of what you felt comfortable in, whether it was, just a lovely maxi dress for, a day out, or if it was a formal dress for a special event. It just gives you a little bit of a direction to go in. Okay, next up, you want to know your timeline. And this is where the experts are coming in, because I spoke with Olwen from Angelo Bridal and I asked the number 1 question, which is, what is the wedding dress timeline? So I specifically wanted to know, when should somebody go and start the process of finding their wedding dress? And then what should they expect in terms of when they can collect their dress? What about alterations? How does all of it work? So why don't you take a listen, because this is very, very informative.
Hi, this is Olwen here from Angelo Bridal, and I'm going to talk you through a typical wedding dress shopping timeline. We do recommend that you get your wedding dress at least a year before your wedding, and this is because the current order times for wedding dresses are about 6 to 9 months. It does vary a little bit depending on the time of year and the designer, but wedding dresses are made to order and they're very intricate garments, so this is why they take so long to come to you. And the more well-known designers tend to have longer order times because there's such a demand for their products. So do give yourself a full year. That way you'll have the widest range of options. Your dress will arrive sooner and you'll be able to organize your alterations at your leisure. If you leave it less than a year, you may miss out on some of the bigger name designers. And if you leave it very close to the date, you may not have time to order a dress at all. And you may need to look at sample sale dresses, which can be amazing, but you won't have as much choice as you would on orders. Now, we would recommend you start your alterations a good 3 months out from your wedding, because you will need to go to a few fittings normally to get a perfect fit, because dresses, while they are made to order, they're usually not made to measure. So when they come in, they normally need a little bit of adjustment, and a lot of brides, they can sometimes lose a bit of weight before their wedding, or sometimes if they're toning up in the gym, you might need your dress adjusted a little bit. So do give yourself a good 3 months, because you'll probably need to go to 3 or 4 fittings. You might need to go to more if you have a very intricate dress, or if you're adding a lot of extra embellishments to it or things like that. Now, collecting your dress does vary a little bit. It is a good idea to have it ready to go about 4 weeks before your wedding, but some places will offer to hold your dress for you so you can collect it a few days before the wedding if you don't have space at home for it. Other places, as soon as your alterations are done, you'll have to just pick it up and take it home. We offer in-house alterations, so we do have a lot of brides that collect their dress a few days or weeks before their wedding, because the dress is just kept here throughout that whole process. But some brides prefer to just take it home as soon as it's done. So I hope this is helpful, and that's a typical wedding dress shopping timeline.
Now, wasn't that incredibly helpful? I couldn't have said it any better myself, but I have put all of those details in writing on the Weddings Online blog so that you can have a little flick through. Just really appreciate that expert advice from Angelo Bridal. I'll also pop a link to their Bridal Boutique website in the notes for this episode, so you can go and check them out as well. We're going to end with a few top tips. And before we get there, since we're on the topic of wedding dresses, next week's episode is going to be really helpful as well, because we're talking all about how you can look after your wedding dress before and after your wedding day. So we're talking things like how to store your wedding dress effectively. And then after the big day, if you want to keep your dress, in pristine condition, what can you do? So come back for that one. It's going to be a great episode. But let's end with some top wedding dress shopping tips. First, have an open mind and be willing to try on dresses that you wouldn't normally consider. So, of course, we spoke a little bit earlier about wedding dress shapes and knowing your style. That doesn't mean that you should completely pigeonhole what you do, but having an open mind means that you might find something that you wouldn't typically consider, and it could turn out to be the perfect dress for you. Another tip: get a wedding dress that's in your size or even a size up, and don't be tempted to try and lose weight for the wedding so you can fit into your dress. That's no way to live. Know your budget. Yes, budgets are not very sexy, but they're important because you need to know what you can actually spend before you go and try on wedding dresses. And when it comes to your budget, don't forget to factor in things like your veil, your shapewear, your jewelry, and your shoes into that whole wedding attire budget so you don't, lose track. Make an actual appointment and don't plan to spontaneously walk into a bridal boutique, because you actually need to have an appointment before you can try on wedding dresses. And finally, before you buy your dress, take a seat in it first. You want to make sure you can actually sit in your wedding dress. Well, thank you for listening today. The Wedding Wednesdays with Weddings Online podcast is produced by me, Kelly, and mixed, mastered, and edited by Glenn Hartman. For more wedding planning tips, advice, checklists, and more, visit weddingsonline.ie.